In a world first, Ukraine used artificial intelligence-trained drones to identify and target strategic bombers and early warning aircraft deep inside Russia.
Ukraine says it carried out large-scale drone attacks on multiple air bases, including some thousands of miles inside Russia.
At 3:15 a.m., deep inside Russia, a radar operator blinked at a screen that suddenly bloomed with movement. 34 Ukrainian drones were slicing through the fog at 300 miles an hour, heading straight for Russia's largest Shahed factory. In 45 seconds, either Ukraine would cripple 70% of Russia's drone production, or an entire swarm worth $2 million would die in silence. Hours before the attack, Russia believed Velyky was untouchable. The Shahed factory operated through the night with the confidence of a city far from danger. Floodlights glared across the compound. Workers moved between warehouses, and commanders walked the perimeter without urgency. For months, Russia had treated the site like a trophy. Production numbers climbed. Propaganda channels bragged about unstoppable output. And in that celebration, discipline slipped. Night crews relaxed. The Panzer operators downgraded alerts. Small radar echoes, those tiny returns that only appear on fog-heavy nights, were dismissed as birds. Ukraine watched this carelessness like a hunter tracks a heartbeat. Intelligence teams spent 3 months mapping the factory's routine. They counted vehicle departures, shift rotations, guard patterns, and radar habits. They discovered a flaw that could not be ignored. Every night between 3:10 and 3:25, the radar room drifted into a vulnerable gap as one team signed off and another signed in. It lasted only seconds, but it was enough. Russian confidence had created the perfect opening. Fog covered the region, discipline had thinned, and the factory that powered Russia's drone assault now sat unaware that the quiet sky above it was turning hostile. For 3 months, Ukrainian analysts pored over satellite passes, heat maps, and intercepted chatter until a single weakness emerged from the noise. It wasn't a radar gap or a missing patrol. It was human error. The night shift crew guarding Russia's prized Shahed factory had a habit that should have ended their careers. They dismissed small, low-altitude radar echoes as flocks of migratory birds. Every night, the same blind spot appeared on their screens, and every night they waved it away. That carelessness became the cornerstone of Ukraine's plan. However, timing mattered. Ukraine could not attack on a clear night. They needed thick fog, the kind that turned the Belgorod skyline into a gray wall. Fog muted IR signatures and blunted radar returns, letting the incoming swarm blend into the clutter the Russian crew already ignored. Just as the mission neared launch, everything changed. Russian command reinforced the factory with a 96 L6E radar, a system operated by veterans who didn't guess, didn't blink, and didn't trust atmospheric anomalies. It killed the one advantage Ukraine had spent months preparing to exploit. Now the question was, how do you strike a fortress that just sealed the only doorway you could slip through? The Banshee jets roared into the night exactly as planned, their engines screaming high above the fog. They were meant to be noticed. The Russian commander took the bait instantly. His screens lit up with what looked like an entire squadron of Su-27s diving straight toward his sector. It was the threat he had trained his whole career to kill. He didn't hesitate. He fired. Missiles tore upward in bright streaks, ripping 6 of the Banshee decoys out of the sky. The bunker erupted in cheers because the radar picture showed a clean defensive victory. The Russian operators believed they had crushed a clumsy Ukrainian strike. They had no idea they were celebrating their own blindness. The actual danger was already slicing through the fog below radar level. The Ram 2X swarm drifted forward at treetop height, disguised by Night Owl's flight algorithms to mimic the drifting motion of migrating birds. To the junior crew on the Panzer consoles, the radar returns looked harmless. To the veteran commander watching his backup 96 L6E display, something felt wrong. The shapes moved too steadily. The pattern was too disciplined. He leaned in. His eyes narrowed. He finally saw it. The drones weren't birds. They were blades. He reached for the targeting override, but the window was closing pretty fast. Now tell me, if you were in that bunker and watched your perfect radar trap unravel in real time, would you trust the screen in front of you or your instincts? Drop your take in the comments. At 3:22 a.m., the battle twisted into something far darker. The veteran Russian commander finally understood the deception and refused to chase ghosts again. Instead of watching the blinding fog-washed tactical feed, he locked his eyes on the raw return of the 9.6 L6E radar, the only screen that still told the truth. Neither did he see birds, nor did he see the weather. He saw a pattern that shouldn't exist. Soft signatures grouped too tightly, too synchronized, too deliberate. He boxed the cluster with his cursor and marked it hostile. The order hit the Pantsir battery like a jolt. 4 SA-22 missiles blasted off in the next breath, tearing upward at 4,000 feet per second. Their seekers locked instantly. This wasn't hunting anymore. It was an execution. In the Ukrainian command van, alarm tones screamed as 12 drones were marked for death. Operators braced for impact, but the sky delivered a blow they never planned for. A violent 25 miles per hour wind shear tore through the swarm. The horizon tilted. The AI fought to correct, but 3 drones collided midair and disappeared in simultaneous bursts of flame. The missile wave was still incoming. The Russian commander smirked. He believed the fight was over. He believed he had outplayed them. He never saw what was coming next. The swarm hit the Veluiki complex with the force of a guillotine. Night Owl shifted from guidance to kill logic, turning every surviving ram 2X into a precision blade. The first drone punched straight through the assembly hall roof, its shaped charge digging past steel and detonating inside the main Shahed production line. The blast didn't flare upward. Instead, it expanded inward, shredding circuitry, folding machinery, and collapsing support beams that were never built to absorb an internal pressure wave. Then came the rest. Group 2 tore through the component warehouse, ripping open crates of avionics and fuel cells and turning them into burning debris. Group 3 struck the control building, frying servers, blueprints, and scheduling data. 3 months of production were wiped out in a single blinding surge. Columns buckled. The roof caved. Over 200 nearly finished Shaheds disappeared under twisted steel. A 1,000-foot column of smoke rose over Belgorod. The factory wasn't damaged, but erased. Satellite confirmation at 4 a.m. showed a crater where Russia's pride once stood. 70% of production was gone, and Russia's drone momentum was dead on impact. By sunrise, the strike stopped being a battlefield story and became a strategic crisis. Russian commanders across Belgorod stared at their screens, realizing they weren't looking at a damaged factory. In actuality, they were looking at a hole punched straight through their air war. For the first time in months, frontline units in Donetsk and Luhansk reported something terrifying. Their sky was absolutely empty. There were no Shaheds, no recon drones, and no electronic warfare escorts. Battalions that relied on nightly drone waves to track Ukrainian armor now watched their maps go blind. Artillery batteries that depended on Shahed spotting teams were suddenly firing without eyes. Entire sectors froze because no one knew what was moving in the darkness ahead. In the Kremlin, the briefing room turned quiet. One attack had erased months of production, killed engineers who couldn't be replaced, destroyed digital archives, and shattered the timetable for every planned drone offensive. Ukraine had punctured Russia's future. And now the question hangs over every Russian commander. If Ukraine can break your air strategy once, what stops them from breaking it again? Russia woke to a black column over Belgorod, and the illusion of control died beneath it. Ukraine proved that a factory hidden deep inside the homeland can disappear in minutes, when timing and intelligence strike together. If you want the next breakdown on how these battles reshape the war's future, hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell us which system you want exposed next.